How to Become the Rainmaker. I want to go over the concept of being a rainmaker because I think that that's an interesting concept of being a marketer and something that a lot of marketers take for granted because I think we're so caught up in selling skin or diet or whatever is the vogue to run that we forget that we have such an extremely valuable skill set that's not only valuable within the realm that we know, but our knowledge can be transferred to any industry that you can think of. I mean, every industry needs leads. Every industry needs to drive sales, right? So as a rainmaker, I like to use that analogy because the rainmaker is not a farmer, right? The rainmaker doesn't produce anything. The rainmaker comes and brings rain, does his rain dance, collects a huge fee from the town, and goes on to the next town, right? I'm not a farmer. Look at me. I'm not going to farm shit. But what I am going to do is I'm going to bring the fucking revenue, and they're going to pay me and let them do the work. So as marketers, we have all the leverage to do that. So what is copywriting? It is not patent and trade stuff. I get a lot of people, they say, what is copywriting? No, I'm a copywriter. Oh, you do patents? No, but I am a good communicator. So copywriting is the ability to learn how to become an extremely powerful communicator. I actually think it's one of the most important skill sets in business and one of the most underlooked skill sets that people fail to develop in their business. Okay, people ask me all the time, they come up to me and say, Ronnie, I have this great idea. I need your words to sell my idea. And I always tell them, look, it's such a beautiful idea. Nobody's going to sell your idea better than you are. So you need to learn the skill set because this is not a skill set that I would delegate to other people, right? In fact, I think most businesses, copywriting is one of the most essential elements to get people to actually take action, want to do business, and buy your product or service. Universally valuable, kind of went over that. And also, it's just the ability to mass influence, the ability to influence people on a mass scale, right? So direct communication, we're only able to communicate, like right now I'm only able to communicate with the 20, 30 of you guys that are here. Now, when you learn copywriting, just yesterday I looked at my ads and it had reached over 2 million people. 2 million people. Think about that. I mean, my ads right now are being viewed by more people than an average television commercial. Very powerful stuff. So famous copywriters. Here's some copywriters. Maybe you didn't know they were copywriters. Napoleon's my favorite. I don't know if you guys know this about Napoleon, but Napoleon owned media companies. Okay? So he owned media companies that would write legitimate news. Now, consider it like modern day. He owned a BuzzFeed, right? And he was writing completely legit articles, but he kept writing about this upstart named Napoleon. Who knew that he owned the company? And next thing you know, he's a dude that came from no background, and through words and through his powerful manipulation of public relations and propaganda, he was able to be an absolute nothing, to rise to the rank of self-appointed emperor when that was an unheard of thing at the time, all through his ability to manipulate the media, through copywriting. People say it was because he was a good war strategist, but if you look at the Battle of Waterloo, I would not agree. So Abraham Lincoln, a masterful ability of using stories and psychological symbolism to influence the country. Great copywriter. I'm sure you guys have all read the Gettysburg Address. Beautiful stuff. Edward Bernays literally wrote the book on public relations. Highly recommend you guys read this book. Public relations has led to the revolution of marketing as an ego-driven medium. And what does that mean? He was the first person to stand up and say, look, hey, instead of selling features and benefits of this shovel, why don't we sell them the psychological need for the man to provide food for his family? Which is more powerful? He needs a shovel to be able to farm on his land to provide food for his family, or the shovel has a good handle and is made out of strong steel. So I want to give you guys a warning. There's a few different warnings here. Number one, this stuff is powerful. Don't use it for negative shit, right? I mean, let's face it, once you learn this stuff, it can get a little addicting. The next thing is, other thing is people think that all marketing is good. All marketing is not good, and if you have shitty copywriting, it can actually unsell your product or service. Now, Ford Motors, a one-time head of market research, placed an advertisement in the Reader's Digest at the time for an entire year. Now, at the end of the year, the people that had not seen that ad purchased more Fords than the people that had seen that ad in Reader's Digest. So just because you're running marketing doesn't mean that it's effective for your business, and it doesn't mean that it's actually helping. It could actually be unselling people on your product or service. So, in the words of Aldous Huxley, it is far easier to write 10 passively effective sonnets good enough for the not too inquiring critic than one effective advertisement that will take in a few thousand of the uncritical public, and in our case, a few million. Everyone thinks they're a marketing expert. Now, I want you to do something. I want you to ask your team to help you analyze a data flow structure. See how many of them volunteer. I don't think any of them will volunteer. Now, ask them to review your marketing. Ask them their opinion on your copy. You're going to get everyone, their mom, your aunt, your uncle. All of a sudden, everyone's marketing experts, right? And it's just not the case. This is an expertise that has to be developed, cultivated, and learned through practice and through the acquisition of knowledge in this industry, in this field. To be a good copywriter, the most important thing is to put aside your biases and assumptions. So it's very, very easy as a copywriter to project our own ideas and assumptions when entering into a new market. You need to train yourself to become a blank slate when you enter in a new market, free of assumptions and free of projections, right? So projecting, see, this person must be like me because I like this. I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, I was developing a product for derby niche. So I don't know if you guys know about roller derby. Roller derby is where these badass women go around in a circle and beat the shit out of each other. And there's some goal to it, but I still haven't figured out the goal to the game. But it's a quite interesting sport. And I decided that I was going to create a product for that niche. Because back in the day, I thought the niches were in the riches, and which they not necessarily are, but that's what I did. So what I did was I thought that I was going to be selling a product to badass punk rock chicks. Because if you look at the type of person that does roller derby, it's like punk rock, badass, like femme, empowerment chicks. I did this, I did all the marketing thinking, oh man, I'm going to do this punk rock, thing, and I didn't sell any copies of it. So I went back to the drawing board and I said, man, I think I have something. So I did a survey. So I ran paid traffic to a survey and says, what is your biggest fears? What is your biggest frustrations? Explain yourself. And I offered them a free copy of the book. It's an ebook. If you do this survey, you get a free copy once it's complete. And what I found out was my assumptions on who I was selling to was absolutely flawed. The people that were interested in the book were actually stay-at-home moms that grew up in the 70s and 80s watching roller derby as a young kid, got married young, had kids young, and felt disempowered in their life. And they were using roller derby as a way to live vicariously through these super ultra empowered women. But through my biases and assumptions, I went into that market thinking that I was going to be selling to these chicks that were actually doing the roller derby. What I didn't realize was I was selling the emotions of freedom, of empowerment, and of the ability to do something they did not think was possible to these women. Because I don't think most of the women that bought this product probably did not pick up any skates and go on around. I just have a feeling that almost 99% of them did not do any roller derby. I was selling the dream, selling the emotions. So put aside your biases and assumptions when entering in a market. So the first thing you need to do is get attention. Now, the opening headline is the first thing that your reader will look at. Now, if this doesn't get their attention, they're going to go click on porn. They're going to go click on kitty videos. Like that. We live in a snack food culture. They're one click away from leaving your page. And if your shit is boring, if it's not getting their attention, and it's not talking to their needs and fears and concerns, they're going to go watch Space Kitties. Here's some headlines I like to use. Breaking. Fluoride in drinking water is causing arthritis. Breaking. Tension. Breaking. Fuck, I need to learn this. What's going on here? Many middle-class fathers have arthritis because of fluoride in drinking water. Why do I use middle class? Class warfare. What's the big hot button in America right now? Class warfare, race relations. Hey, we're marketers. It's what we do. If you don't like it, sell something else. Middle-class fathers have arthritis because of fluoride in drinking water. I use this middle-class angle a lot. Try that out. I think it'll work for you. People get pissed off. Everyone thinks they're middle class, by the way. It's the funny thing about Americans. Everyone thinks they're middle class in America, but I think middle class is something like $70,000 a year average, right? Which I actually don't think that's middle class, but everyone thinks they're middle class. Rising concerns over high fluoride levels linked to arthritis. That was just an emotionally driven headline, right? Deeply understand their problem. If you can describe a person's problem better than they can describe their own problem, they automatically and unconsciously credit you for the solution. They assume that you know the answer. And I'll repeat that. That took me a minute to fully comprehend. If you describe somebody's problem as if you're in their head, you're building that first link of trust, of relatability, of building the relationship with that person as they're entering into your funnel, right? So here's one I did. How we cast out our daughter's drug addiction. It got bad when our daughter was stealing irreplaceable family heirlooms for drug money. What did most advertisements say? Get clean. Try our Oasis Healthcare Rejuvenation Facility. You're going to have great staff and no, your fucking kid is stealing your family heirlooms. Oh my God. And the people that have this problem are like, shit, it's going to punch them right in the gut. And then guess what? They're not going to go to the kitty video. They're going to read this article. They're going to remember their daughter looking like that. And they're going to look at their daughter and like, fuck, this is exactly what my daughter looks like now, or my son, little shithead. I need to figure to the bottom of this. All right? So automatically, right at the first interaction, I'm trying to relate to the deep problems, the problems that they don't even want to admit to themselves. When you can go over a problem, when you can talk about a problem that the prospect doesn't even want to admit to themselves, that's next level shit. Right? Because we all have our little stories that we tell ourselves. Oh, it's she's not a drug addict, she's just going through a phase. Well, fuck, is she stolen your shit? Well, yeah, but it's a phase. No, man. Right? What is your prospect's problem? Now, if you're selling medication for aches and pains, instead of selling the features and benefits, first describe the pain in detail. Describe how it feels beneath their joints. My knee started to hurt first, and my muscles around the knee and calf area became painful. Then one morning, my hands and fingers had pain. My fingers have started to swell. Then my elbows recently have started to hurt and throb. I feel that it's in the muscle around my elbow joint and along my arm which are painful. Some days are worse than others, but there is always a dull ache. Now, what's going to convert more? Hey, check out this pain cream? Or, hey, I understand your pain, Let me talk to you about it. Let me exacerbate your pain and then provide the solution. Yes. Wait, one second. Let me get you the mic.
Yeah, Ronnie, so how did you actually get that? Where'd you get that? Did you talk to people? I mean,
Good question. I'm going to go over that.
okay.
Called the Vinci. Yeah.
Hey, Ronnie, is the idea here, instead of stating the features and benefits, you're conveying what you're saying? You're not
Right.
stating it, you're conveying or creating a context?
Okay, that's a good question. The first thing that you want to do is hit them with their pain point before you hit them with features and benefits. Okay, so I'm going to get into the triune brain theory a little bit. There's a theory, but I like this theory a lot, that we have three different brains inside of us. We have the reptilian brain, which is the stem, the oldest part of our brain, the oldest evolved part of our brain. That's the brain that controls anger, fight, flight, sex, primal, everything, our base primal instincts. That's what that controls. Now, we have the slightly younger brain called the mammalian brain. Okay? That's what controls status in your tribe. So like a wolf pack, they're mammalians. They have status and hierarchy. So the mammalian brain controls that. And then we have our least developed and evolutionary developed part of our brain, which is the neo-mammalian cortex, which is the human part of our brain, which is the logic and the reason, which is not very powerful because it's our newest part of our brain. We're not logical creatures. We like to think we're logical creatures. We're actually highly emotional creatures. So to get back to what you're saying, you want to sell them on the pains first. You want to hit them with pain first. You want to hit them at their emotional level first before you hit them in their neo-mammalian complex, which is their logical thought patterns. Okay? So if you go buy a BMW, right, you're gonna justify it to yourself, or that's how some people do, saying, well, it's safe. It's safe, but they're really buying the BMW because it improves their status and it triggers, action in the neo-mammalian cortex, and it's just fucking inevitable. They're gonna buy. We're just so pre-wired to this. That's why it's so powerful. We can't deny our own evolutionary wiring. And if you can manipulate that, you have power. Right? Describe their pain to initiate trust. So I kind of went over this a little bit. This is actually the first phase in initiating the trust. Building the trust with the person, the prospect. Describe their pain. I get you. Creates the us versus them scenario. Who else uses us versus them? Every presidential candidate, right? Us versus them. Create a common enemy. People have a tendency to create cause and effect scenarios in their brain. So exploit that by implanting your own cause and effect scenario. Example. Old man in the previous slide is suffering with arthritis. Now what if I told him that the cause of this problem was actually the drinking water he drinks from the tap and is causing fluoride deposits in his joints? I have created a cause and effect which makes sense to that person. And I've created a common enemy. Who's this person putting fluoride in my water? Who's this company? Who are these people? Cause and effect, yeah. Are you also taking the blame away from them as well? The which one? Are you also taking the blame away from them as well? Because now the water is not... Never their fault. It's never their fault. You never want to blame them. Do you think Trump is blaming his followers for how fucked up their lives are? Oh, man, it's the Mexicans. Right? So who's causing the joint pain? Is it because maybe they're just old and that just happens? It's the fucking water, man. Now, what if I told you that in order to save money, like what just happened in Flint, local governments have been allowing unsafe levels of fluoride and other mineral deposits in the water that can calcify and destroy brittle bones? That makes sense, doesn't it? Now I've hit them emotionally. Then I've started to bring in logic into it. Right? It's like a warm blanket. At this point, this book over here to the right looks really appealing, doesn't it? They're having aches. They don't know where it's coming from. Nothing's helping. I told them it's the fluoride in the water. The terrifying reason why your joints hurt. If their joints hurt, they're going to download that book. They're going to watch a product. It's not their fault. Play into their irrational stories that people tell themselves. It's never their fault. I'm in the student debt niche. It's one of my niches. I like it. It's not their fault. It's the government's fault. It's the for-profit college's fault. It's not that they got into a bad loan situation. Once you start placing blame on them, you become their enemy. You're not their enemy, you're their friend. You're the one who's guiding them to a new solution, right? If I told you, any one of you guys right now, that you're wrong, you're not going to like me. It's automatic. If fluoride provides solution. So once you've hit them emotionally, once you tickled them a little bit with logic, now you can provide the solution. Now, if fluoride is causing the problem, then naturally eliminating the fluoride will fix the problem, right? Well, yes, but the problem is that most filters don't eliminate fluoride, and only my filter does. The exact thing targets the exact mineral deposits that exacerbate and aggravate joint disorder. My solution: I understand your problem. It's not your fault. This is why it's happening to you. But check this out. Luckily, you came across my website. Now it's time for you to present your credentials. Why should they listen to you? Who are you? In most cases, all you have is introduce yourself at this point. Sure, he can fix my problem, but why should I trust him? Right? So successful case studies are very valuable at this point in your sales process. Prestigious companies you've done business with, length of time, your expertise, or I use this a lot, and actually I use this most commonly, is I've been there and done that. I am just like you. I've been in your shoes. I understand your problems. I understand your fears and your darkest frustrations. And I understand what it takes to fix it. And so that's my credentials. How about that? Now you show the benefits. Right? So benefit if you get my fluoride filtering water system is you're going to lose your joint pain, right? So what's one way of looking at it? That's what basic bitch marketers do. It's true. Good marketer will say, how about now you can go take your granddaughter out? Now you have the time and the ability to go bowling with your friends like you weren't able to do with your joint pain. How about you're able to take your solution to your wife that's also suffering with the problem? I don't know. I don't know what their reasons are, but if you're just saying, I'm going to fix your joint pain, you're not digging in deep enough. It makes it more real when you can say, not just say, I'm going to fix your joint problem, but because your joint problem is fixed, you're going to have this, this, and this in your life. Because your student debt has been fixed, you're going to be able to buy a car, buy a house, have some kids, put some savings away, right? How do you find pain points? Now pay attention to Facebook comments. Right? So run a Facebook ad. I like Facebook ad because people interact with your ad. You can see what they're saying. I take swipe directly from my commenters. I copy and paste it and put it in a swipe file because I use their exact words that they use to describe their problem in my marketing. Right? So use their words, not mine, it's their words. Run an Ask Database survey. Now, I told you what I do with the Derby Dynamite. That's what I use, the Ask Database. It's kind of this weird site. It looks really spammy, but it's quite effective. And you can run these survey landers, and it collects and compiles all the data for you, so it's quite handy. But I would do Facebook comments first. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of that right away. Go to forums and support groups and read the threads there. All right, so let's see. I'm going to knee pain forum. You can do something like, I like going and kind of trying to filter it out by the most popular threat. But I don't think this one has a filter like that. Bursitis, just found out I have bursitis. What is bursitis? I don't know. I should check that though, right? Use that in my copy if you're suffering from bursitis. Because the average person doesn't know what bursitis is. Yeah, Naveed, did you have a question? Okay. The average person doesn't know what bursitis is, so you use their insider terms, right? Let's see. TKR. I have a TKR op 3 weeks ago. Maybe put TKR op. Hey, TKR ops weren't working. I went to all the TKR ops I could go to. Shit didn't work. Need my fluoride filter. All right, so that's easy, right? There's nowadays you can Google. You can Google and you don't even have to write copy. This is lazy copy. Copy and paste, that's copy. Copy and paste their words into your copy.